Inspire.fm.
So today we'll be having a new host joining to the Inspire.fm family, and she is Jana Moreno, and she will be hosting a show called Conscious Creation. So welcome, Jana.
Thank you.
So let's begin by sharing with our listeners your background.
Oh.
Then we'll move on to what is conscious creation.
Sure. My background is kind of scattered, and that really reflects my state of mind at the time. When I was about 16, I felt really lost and confused. Most people go through their lives and they have this feeling of, oh no, where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? And that's what happened to me. I actually got a scholarship into college, and I was doing very well, except that I kept changing my major. So I think I changed my major 5 or 6 times. And then finally was fed up and said, I'm going to move out to Las Vegas and learn how to fly airplanes. At the time, I was living in Missouri. And so it's a very long drive from Missouri to Las Vegas. It's about a 24-hour drive nonstop. That's not stopping. Yeah. And I moved out there alone when I was about 19. And I started flying airplanes and also felt, this just isn't for me. Went back to school, switched a few more times my major, and then my scholarship ran out. And so I thought, okay, I'll just get a job, and then when I figure out what I want to do, then I'll do it. And I found myself working in a local restaurant there, up in the mountains, not in the craziness. I lived in a place called Summerlin, and so was my restaurant, bar, lounge, and I made very good money, especially from about 21 to 22, I worked there, and we live off of tips as waitresses, and I made really good money. I had a really nice car, a really beautiful condo, and I still felt like something was missing. And I kept thinking, I should be happy, but what is it? Why am I not happy? I have so much more than the average 22-year-old. What's wrong? And about that time, my father called me from Missouri and said, hey, why don't we go out to Kuala Lumpur, me, my 2 sisters, and my father, and do this course called Money and You, and see what happens. So I thought, yes, travel. I love travel. I love to see Southeast Asia. I hadn't traveled here before. And I hopped on a plane and came out here. And it was here that I met my teachers, Heiko and Selena Niedermeyer. They do a process called releasing. And I didn't know what it was. I hadn't been introduced to this before. And my father said, just go do a releasing session with them. And I was thinking, okay, sure, sounds interesting. Had no idea what was in store for me. And I did the session, and it was like all the answers to all the questions I had been asking popped up. I left the session feeling so much lighter, so much clearer, and just so much more focused on what it was that I wanted. And so I ended up going back to the States, and within 7 months, I gave away almost everything, my furniture, my apartment, my car, packed all that I could into 2 suitcases and moved out here to learn from them. And I've been out here ever since, and now I do this technique called releasing, and it's been a fantastic ride.
Well, hearing your journey is like, changing majors, being, flying planes, and now so many miles away from home. Oh, you've been there, done that, basically.
I've lived a lot, I guess, but it's been definitely worth it.
So how is it different, when you're back in the States and here?
Oh, what's different? Well, since coming out here, I'm a lot more clear and a lot more focused. I've also become a lot more business-minded, and also have learned how to love myself more, how to meditate, how to be centered and at peace with things that happen. So where before in the States, my life was really dramatic. It was like one thing after another, drama, and I kept thinking, how do I make this stop happening? And in the States especially, I'd look outside of into my life and I'd be like, oh, this needs to change and that needs to change. And it wasn't until I came out here that I really realized, wow, it's me that needs to change. No matter where I lived, if I was in Missouri in one apartment or in another apartment, or if I moved out to Las Vegas, it's like no matter where I went, the same issues followed. And it was always me trying to run away from that. And it wasn't until I came out here and I started learning releasing, and I really started becoming aware and conscious that things started changing, that I started realizing how it was I was creating things.
Okay, so let's move on to conscious creation. So what is it all about?
Conscious creation really is a way of living and being. It's about how to create what it is you want in your life, and understanding how it is we create certain things. So really it's two parts. There's one part dharma, one part karma. So the karma part is, it's not necessarily bad. A lot of people think karma, oh, it's something bad, something's out to get me. And that's not it. Karma is things that you cannot help. So, for example, I could not help that I was born, to John and Carol Moreno in San Pedro, California. I was born Caucasian in the States. It's something I cannot help, right? And I'm glad, right? That's part of my journey. And so it's kind of, in the Dharma part that works with it is creating from wherever you stand karmically. Right? So karma is more like a downward motion. Dharma is an upward motion. And Dharma really is you can create anything you want despite where you came from, who you are, what challenges you faced. You could really create anything from where you stand. Mm-hmm.
And this process, of creating this Dharma that you talk about, is it someone that off the street can just immediately apply? As our listeners listening right now, that's something that they can just get into it and do it, rather than, I have to do this foundation, I have to do this level 1, level 2, and then I'm competent enough to move on and do this.
Well, there's no real different levels. There's no real different stages. Every person is different. It really is a case-by-case basis. There are people that come in that have never been introduced to personal development that pick it up like that, and they run with it, and they create, wonderful results in their life. Money, health, relationships. And then there's other people who have been in this for a while that still have some resistance to creating certain things. So really what it is, the difference between conscious creation is it applies universal principles. So it's not based on opinion. It's not like, this worked for me, so it'll work for you. Like some seminars, they say, if you invest in gold, everyone will be rich. And some people go in and they invest in gold and get rich, and other people are like, hey, what about me? Right? Well, conscious creation works with universal principles. It's really based off the work of a man named Buckminster Fuller. And he was like the Leonardo da Vinci of our time, and he looked out into the universe and he saw that there were certain laws, certain principles that govern the universe. And then he said, well, if it's true in the universe, it must be true in nature. So he looked into nature and he saw that the same laws and principles existed there. And he said, well, if it works in the universe and if it works in nature, then it must work for humanity. So when he started applying these principles in life, he found that it worked for everyone. It was not mutually exclusive. It's a universal principle, right?
And when you talk about laws, the first thing off people's mind will be law of attraction, the secret, and that, and a lot of people have actually gone into it and then say, well, it didn't work. So, and how do you then tell this our listeners that who have done law of attraction, who have done the secret, and that's not moved from where they are?
I would say results never lie. So the beautiful thing about this work is if you're really in alignment with what it is you're trying to create, it'll show up instantly, right? And with other things, because I had that as well. In the beginning, with The Secret, it's like I'm trying to create this. Why isn't it working? Rawr, and I'd get really frustrated and say, this doesn't work. And then I was always drawn back to it because I knew it was something I was not doing. So one of the principles, and these principles are also the same principles in Money and You, is for things to change, first I must change, right? So there is something I'm not doing if the results are not showing, right? And to really identify that, and that would be something like karma. So you can release that. You can release the block, release the resistance, and then move forward. So another thing, conscious creation really is about movement. Some people get their creation right out of the box, and other people have to go through a bit of a learning experience to get it, right? So I had one client who was almost 30 years old, and he had never been in a relationship. His longest relationship was like 4 months, right? And he started doing this, and it worked. He started seeing the evidence immediately. Suddenly, these girls started popping up. He made his list, and one girl would turn up, and it wasn't what he exactly wanted, but it wasn't in his list. So I would say, use that. Use what you didn't like, turn it around, and put it in your list, we call it. You make a list of everything you want in your relationship. And so he did that, and then another girl came in. And the same thing, it worked out for a little while, but not exactly what he was looking for. So, okay, so use that. What didn't work? And then put that in your list. So he started doing this, and within a year, after about, I think, 4 different girls, he finally found the one, right? And I just got an invitation, this was a few years ago, I just got an invitation to his wedding in July this year. So he's been with this girl for over 2 years. They're very happy together. He is really doing well. And he's also, the same guy has also applied it with money. So instead of working 80 hours a week, making gobs of money, traveling all the time, now he works 2 days a week and makes the same amount of money and takes the rest of the time to really do what he loves.
That's a very interesting story. And then, okay, here it is. Someone have done it. It worked, and you have someone who is starting at the same time, but he's like, falling and failure, meeting obstacles and things like that. Mm-hmm. And then when you look at another example, and you look at this person, we start at the same time, and why is he there? Mm-hmm. And also is that a lot of us start with having all these thoughts. But as you say, if you don't put those thoughts on paper, it is not something that you are really following. It's just thoughts. Like, I'm thinking I want a relationship, I want a goal, then what?
Well, a lot of times, my clients that come in, they're very familiar with this work. They've seen The Secret, they listen to Esther and Abraham Hicks, they listen to all this stuff, but they don't give themselves time to sit down and do it. So really what conscious creation is giving people the space to sit down and do it. And when you sit down and do it, we become aware of what is blocking us. But you have to take the time to sit down and do it. And many people don't. They go, oh, that's great. Now this is going to manifest in my life. And then they wonder why it hasn't. And the other thing, for people that start at the same time and don't have results the same time, you can't compare yourself to another person. They have not walked in your shoes. They did not live your journey. Everyone has lived a certain experience. And as you live your experience, neural connections form. And so everybody literally in the brain is wired differently. So with some people in certain subjects, it's really easy to rewire the neural connections. And other people, there's a little bit more to do. And I'm one of them. I'm really good with health and relationships. Money was very difficult for me in the beginning. Only now is it easy, right? But it took me actually a few years of bumping around and getting clearer. And that's the beauty of this work, is allow yourself to be in a position so that you can get clearer. So if results aren't showing, don't look at it as bad. And don't say, ooh, that's bad, and I'm not doing something, and rah, rah, rah. Just go, okay. And that's okay. What do I need to do now? Really make peace with it.
Now, you say that, a few years. The thing is that with this type of work is that people now expect everything to be instant. Mm-hmm. If I do this today, tomorrow, something is going to happen. Because we're now living in the age that, everything is like, boom, it's there, fast. Mm-hmm. And I think working with this work as well is that they want it to be fast. Mm-hmm. Because I want to meet someone tomorrow afternoon. There it is, and I work with money. Oh, tomorrow in my bank account there's going to be, thousands of millions. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how do you consolidate that?
Well, first of all, if you're anxious, right, that's actually a good sign because it means you're excited. You know it's going to happen. So anxiousness isn't bad, but then it also implies a bit of resistance to where you are right now. And really the key, one of the main keys in conscious creation is how do you enter your creation? Are you entering it from a space of, I want to create this because I hate where I am now? Or are you wanting to create this because you would like more value and fun in your life, right? So these are two very different spaces. You can enter your creation from a space of power or from a space of force, from a space of love or a space of fear. And many times, the people that are trying to create what it is they want in their life, they're entering their creation from a space of fear. It's like, I want to create more money because I hate being broke. I want to create this person because I hate being lonely or because I can't stand where I am now. And really, one of the, in our workshops, a lot of it is centering and returning to what we call a state of zero. So it's a state of complete peace and acceptance of where we are now, to really enjoy it and really open ourselves up to everything now is providing, right? And once we make peace with it, it's very easy to move. But the more we resist it, this is another principle from Money and You, from Buckminster Fuller, from Carl Jung. He said this, what you resist persists. So if I am constantly resisting where I am now, it's going to be very hard for me to move out of it, right? Whereas if I make peace and go, okay, this is where I am now, and I accept it, I embrace it, I make peace with it, and I open myself up to new possibilities and to new opportunities. Yeah, and then people find that they move faster into what it is that they want, right? But for me, for years, I resisted where I was with money, and that's why. And it took me years to get that. It took me really a long time to realize, oh, I'm trying to create money from a space of lack instead of a space of I have enough, right? Instead of a space of abundance. You cannot create something from a space of lack. It's virtually impossible. But you can move out of it, yeah?
So now let's head straight into conscious creation. Maybe you can just share with the listeners as how it works. Is it that I sit in the middle of a room, stay quiet, cross-leg and go over? And what do they do?
Okay, well, meditation is one part of it. And that's really to help a person get to a space of zero. Again, you start, and zero isn't bad. It's just your natural state, right? And our natural state is one of peace and calm and joy. A lot of people want to create from a space of stress and anger and frustration. And it doesn't work, because when you resist that, you create more of it, right? So it's really about getting into the right space and then really coming into alignment with what it is that you want. And I have an alignment chart in my conscious creation. And this isn't anything new. This isn't like something people don't know. I don't teach. This is just a space for people to do the work for themselves, right? And this chart shows how in alignment you are with what it is that you want. And it gauges you so that you know, oh, I'm really close. I'm on the cusp of it. I just need to keep visualizing, keep doing my tools, keep doing my meditations, and I know it's there. Or you can say, wow, I really have a lot of resistance, and it shows your resistance. It shows your fears, it shows your blocks, and it shows where the hiccups are in your creations. And once you know what those are, you can release them, let them go, and then move.
So let's go run through what will be expecting from your show.
From my show. Well, whatever it is you want to create, you can write it in. Write to me or the radio station, and we can really work on that. Because different manifestations require different things. So, like to create your ideal relationship, the love of your life, is very different than creating money. Right? Creating money, it's really about picturing and seeing and living and feeling the lifestyle. Right? So, having that really nice, $10,000 watch or $20,000, or in some people's cases, they want $1 million watch, or, going out and eating at a 5-star restaurant, or having a driver take you around town. What is your lifestyle? Right? And relationships is much more, how do you feel? What is this person? What kind of feelings do they generate? right? And one of the main keys is feeling it before it happens, right? One of my metaphors that I use is there was this lady who took aura pictures. Aura is like your energy around you and in you as well. And so she can take pictures of aura, and she took a picture of an aura picture of a rose. And the rose physically had not bloomed yet, but metaphysically, the aura showed it had already bloomed. So in essence, that rose was completely in alignment with what it was going to become. It was actually, energetically speaking, already there, right? There was no resistance to what it was going to become. And so conscious creation is about doing that as well, right? So my aunt, the co-founder of Money and You, calls us all millionaires in lag. We've already become that, but physically it hasn't shown yet. But making peace with where you are. Right? So again, conscious creation is really about enjoying the journey, right? If the universe could pick you up from where you are and put you in the space of being a multi-millionaire within a second, it would not do that because it would be robbing you of the delicious experience, right? So in my course, we liken it to going to a buffet. Let's say you're really hungry and you go to this buffet. The universe would not just fill your stomach with food and take out the joy of chewing and tasting and swallowing, right? So conscious creation is that journey. It is movement. It is the process. And it is supposed to be fun. It is supposed to be enjoyed, the creating part. It's not meant to be, one day I don't have it and the next day I have it and I missed all the deliciousness in between. It's really meant, okay, I'm going to enjoy this journey, really. And some people do. Some people, one day they don't have it, the next day they have it. I created my iPhone like that. Really, one day I didn't have it and the next day it just showed up. It was free, it was brand new, and I didn't have to pay for a big, lengthy 2-year plan, right?
I believe a lot of people will be, wanting that.
Yeah.
Especially with the new iPad. So how are you going to create a new iPad, without paying a single cent or even a plan? Mm-hmm. Maybe you can tell us a story.
Oh, okay. Well, for me, if you would look at my alignment chart for my iPhone, I was completely in alignment with it. I didn't have any blocks to having it, nor did I have any blocks to not having it. You see, so energy works two ways. The wave of, like, if a particle emits energy, right, it goes both ways. It doesn't just go one way, all positive. And many programs do offer only positive, and it works for some people, but then there's still that resistance. So the alignment chart really shows, is there resistance also to not having it? And that shows, really, the results show, if you really have resistance to not having my iPhone, right, then it won't show up. But honestly, like, if I didn't have my iPhone ever, I'd be fine, I would live, I wouldn't be that upset or sad or frustrated. It was not like, oh, I need this in order to be happy, right? And there's keys to this. There's keys to alignment. So there's 3 keys. And the first one is embodiment. So this is the be, do, have aspect. You have to be it, do it, and have it. Your aura has to become one with what it is you're creating. So my iPhone, I could easily picture me having it. Every time my phone rang, I would be like, oh, that's my new iPhone ringing. And I could see me and my daughter, playing reading games with one of the apps, or me playing Angry Birds while she's, taking it. So I can really see that. So that's the embodiment part. The second key to alignment is acceptance. It's really accepting where you are, making peace with it, and understanding I'm happy whether I get it or not. So it's really about being in a space of joy and abundance, right? So with my iPhone, I was fine without it. I was not going to die. It was not the end of the world. It was something it'd be nice to have. And if I didn't get it, it wasn't going to diminish me in any way. It wasn't going to take away my joy and happiness. And I really entered that creation in a space of, I was already really happy with my phone. It was another different smartphone. So I was fine. And the last key is, and this one can be a little bit difficult for people, not all, but for some, is the surrender and faith. So it's really having faith that because I thought it, it must come true. It's having faith because I am embodying it, and because I accept where I am, it has to manifest, right? And that's one of the laws. If you are really in alignment with what it is you're creating, it must manifest. There is no way it cannot. Yeah? So these are the 3 keys to alignment. Embodiment, which is be, do, have. Acceptance, which is really being in a space of joy and peace and accepting where you are now. And the third one is surrender and faith. Yeah?
And with that, I'd just like to share a story about something that is similar to having that iPhone. I didn't have that iPhone. I'm not going to have an iPhone. But it's something that I've also written down as well. This was some years back where I was thinking and I'm doing all this more of the body, mind, spirit work. And I find that, in the Asian context or even in Malaysia itself, that's not a particular station or even media that's really focusing on this area, body, mind, spirit. You have, pockets of people doing different things. And so I wrote it down and say, okay, I want to do a podcast of, sharing with people on these subjects. And then I ended up with, hosting a radio show. It's also another internet radio. And that sort of brought me that okay, now I'm a step nearer and I'm doing this, and this is something that I've been wanting to do. Just that now it's a different context and I have a studio to record. Because when I had that thought of having podcasts, just basically having someone and meeting them, sitting down and recording. So I did that. And here now, right here, as I'm talking to you, we are recording. And it is a radio station, and then we're talking about body, mind, spirit work. And as I look back, this was like on my diary, saying, wow, I wrote it down, and today, right now, I'm doing it.
Yes, that's conscious creation. And also, you were very in alignment with it.
And yes, and along the way, I meet people, talk to people, and they have similar ideas. And they would so much to contribute. And I think that with this work that you are sharing, that it will help a lot of people to bring that, as you said, to alignment of what they really want. A lot of times is that they think that they want something, but at the end it's maybe not the case.
Yes, that happens in conscious creation. Sometimes people come in trying to create something. And as they do the alignment chart, they find, oh, this isn't actually what I want. What I want is this. And that's part of the movement, getting clear. That's another principle. Clarity leads to power, right? So the clearer I am, the more likely it is to manifest. So like, for instance, the client that created his ideal relationship, in the beginning, when he started, his list of his ideal person was 4 pages. And by the end, it was 8. Yeah. And actually, I had a group a few years ago, all women, and they were all beautiful, gorgeous women, and they all wanted to be in a relationship, could not get into a relationship. And I was looking at them like, you ladies are gorgeous. How can you not get into a relationship? So we did a mastermind group, just a girl group, and just as like a testing zone for me to see if I wanted to take this public. And all 3 of them, within 6 months, started dating someone. And now to this day, one is married, one is affianced, and one just got out of her 2-year-long relationship because she decided she wanted to be single again, right? And all of them ended up with 8 pages as well. So
8 is the magic number.
Yeah, it seems to be, which is, I guess, an auspicious number in Chinese culture as well. Yeah, so it depends. The more clear you are, the better. Definitely.
And I think with all the stories that you have shared, our listeners is wanting more. So what else can we expect from the coming shows that we have lined up?
Oh, anything you can imagine. So some people want to create their ideal business. Some people want their ideal clients. Some people want a certain amount of return. Some people, it's really around money, health, relationships. Some people are trying to create, some people are creating their ideal relationships with their kids. And that's something I'm also working with. I have a very great relationship with my daughter. And the beautiful thing about conscious creation, it's really understanding the universe is always showing you what you need to work on. So anytime something arises that you really don't like, a traffic jam or a fight with your partner, it's just the universe saying, hey, this is something to look at, right? Again, with conscious creation, you don't get what you think about and manifest. You get what you are, right? So that's what you get. So if you're really someone who's frustrated and stressed out, it's going to be, dominoes. You're going to constantly find yourself in stressed out, angry, frustrated positions. And if you're someone really at peace and someone who really feels abundant and blessed, that's what you're going to get more of. Yeah? So really, imagination, whatever you can think of, I really strongly believe it can be created, except when you're trying to create someone else to be a certain way. That is a no-no.
Okay, so that is in summary what we're going to expect from Jana's show, which is going to be called Conscious Creation, right here on Inspire.fm.
Inspire.fm